What if I told you that behind the glittering stage of Miss USA, beneath the crowns, gowns, and perfect smiles, there's a storm raging? A battle not of beauty, but of power. A shocking leadership war has erupted, splitting the pageant world in half, and the future of the crown itself now hangs by a thread. Who truly controls Miss USA? Is it the rightful queen of the boardroom, or a bold challenger staging a takeover? Stay with me, because this scandal is far deeper, and far darker, than anyone expected. The Miss USA scandal. On stage, the Miss USA crown sparkles under the lights. It's the dream of every contestant, the moment when beauty, talent, and confidence are celebrated. But behind the curtains, far away from the glamour and flashing cameras, a bitter power struggle is shaking the very foundation of this iconic pageant. At the center of the storm is Laylah Rose, the woman who has been serving as the CEO of both Miss USA and Miss Teen USA. To many, she was the steady hand guiding the pageant forward. But in September 2025, everything changed. Enter Thom Brodeur, a businessman with his own ambitions. Out of nowhere, he publicly announced that he had acquired the Miss USA brands and was now the official chairman, president, and CEO. His words sent shockwaves across the pageant world. For decades, Miss USA has been a household name, an institution of beauty and pride. And suddenly, this man declared he had seized the throne. Fans erupted online. Was Laylah Rose fired? Did she step down? Was there a secret deal made in the dark? The contestants, the sponsors, the fans, everyone demanded answers. And then, Laylah Rose broke her silence. Her statement was sharp, emotional, and defiant. She denied everything. She claimed she had not signed any new contracts, had received no legal documents, and was still the CEO of Miss USA. In her words, she had not stepped aside, nor had she been removed. What does this mean? Two people are now claiming to be the rightful leader of one of America's most iconic pageants. One, Thom Brodeur, standing tall and declaring victory. The other, Laylah Rose, refusing to bow down, insisting she still holds the crown of power. Behind this conflict lies something bigger, the politics of pageantry. Miss USA has always been more than just beauty. It's business, sponsorships, television deals, and millions of dollars in brand value. Whoever controls the CEO title doesn't just lead a pageant, they control an empire. But the public mess is already leaving scars. Contestants are caught in the crossfire. Future sponsorships are uncertain. Fans are split, some calling it the downfall of Miss USA, others calling it a fight worth having to protect its legacy. And here's the irony, a competition built on poise, grace, and composure is now at the center of chaos, lawsuits, and power games. The glittering gowns and crowns may still dazzle on stage, but behind closed doors? It's a battlefield. So the world waits. Will Laylah Rose hold her ground and prove she is still the rightful CEO? Or will Thom Brodeur's bold claim become reality, forcing her out once and for all? One thing is clear. This is no longer just about who wears the Miss USA crown on stage. This is about who truly wears the crown of power. And right now, that crown is under fire. The surprise takeover claim. The entire scandal began with one shocking announcement that no one saw coming. Out of nowhere, Thom Brodeur, a businessman with ties to the pageant industry, publicly declared that he had acquired both the Miss USA and Miss Teen USA brands. Not only that, he went further, proclaiming himself as the new chairman, president, and CEO of the entire organization. This was not whispered in boardrooms or hidden in legal filings, it was announced boldly, in front of the world. Brodeur spoke with confidence, as though the transfer of power was already completed and unquestionable. His statement was clear, a new era had begun, and he was now in charge. The shockwave hit instantly. For decades, Miss USA has been one of America's most recognizable pageant brands, a symbol of beauty, ambition, and success. To suddenly hear that the leadership had changed hands was nothing short of explosive. Contestants, coaches, sponsors, and pageant fans all around the country were left stunned. But what made the claim even more controversial was the lack of transparency. There were no official court filings revealed to the public. No formal press release from the Miss USA organization itself. No signed legal documents presented as proof. Just one man's powerful declaration that the crown of leadership was now his. The timing of this announcement also raised eyebrows. Pageantry has been under pressure in recent years, fighting for relevance in the digital age, struggling with sponsorships, and facing scandals about fairness and leadership. By stepping forward in this moment, Brodeur positioned himself as the savior ready to fix what many critics believed was broken. But here's the twist, his bold takeover claim wasn't received as a clean victory. Instead, it opened the gates to chaos, confusion, and public drama. Because Laylah Rose, the sitting CEO, did not recognize his claim. And from this point onward, the story of Miss USA shifted from glamour and crowns to a bitter war of power and credibility. Laylah Rose's denial. When Thom Brodeur made his bold claim of taking over Miss USA and Miss Teen USA, many assumed that Laylah Rose had either stepped down quietly or been pushed aside in some behind-the-scenes power play. But then, Laylah herself broke her silence, and her response turned the story upside down. Instead of confirming or softening Brodeur's statement, Laylah Rose came out swinging. In her own powerful words, she made it absolutely clear: she had not signed any agreements, not received any official legal notice, and not been removed from her position. According to her, she was still the rightful CEO of Miss USA and Miss Teen USA. Her denial wasn't quiet. It was public, firm, and filled with defiance. By refusing to acknowledge Brodeur's claim, Laylah threw the entire pageant world into confusion. Suddenly, there were two competing versions of reality. Thom Brodeur's version, where he was the new CEO and the pageant had entered a new era. Laylah Rose's version, where she was still in power and no official change had taken place. This clash of authority turned into a spectacle. Fans, contestants, and sponsors didn't know whom to believe. On one hand, Brodeur spoke confidently about his new leadership. On the other, Laylah insisted she had never relinquished control. It became a classic case of he said, she said, but with millions of dollars, decades of legacy, and the future of Miss USA on the line. Laylah's denial also raised another critical question: if she was telling the truth, then where was the paperwork? If no legal contracts had been signed, how could Brodeur publicly claim ownership and leadership? And if Brodeur did have the documents, why hadn't they been shown to the public? Her statement also carried a tone of personal pride. For Laylah, this wasn't just about a job title, it was about her reputation, her career, and her identity as a leader. By publicly denying Brodeur's claim, she was fighting not just for a role, but for respect in an industry already dominated by politics and power struggles. And this is where the drama deepens. Laylah Rose's denial didn't settle the matter, it intensified it. Instead of calming rumors, it ignited new ones. Instead of restoring clarity, it fueled chaos. Her refusal to step aside transformed this into a public battle of wills, where only one leader could ultimately wear the crown of authority. What should have been a private boardroom matter had now spilled into headlines, gossip blogs, and social media debates. Laylah Rose stood her ground, but in doing so, she ensured that the Miss USA brand was no longer just about beauty queens and crowns, it was about boardroom battles, corporate intrigue, and the fight for legitimacy. Confusion and chaos. When Thom Brodeur declared himself the new CEO of Miss USA and Miss Teen USA, and Laylah Rose fired back with a strong denial, the real fallout began, not in boardrooms but in the public eye. Suddenly, the glamorous world of pageantry, where contestants are judged on poise, elegance, and confidence, was drowning in confusion and chaos. Crown contestants left in the dark. For the young women competing in Miss USA, the pageant is not just a show, it's a life-changing opportunity. Scholarships, modeling contracts, sponsorship deals, and even future careers often start with that crown. But now, they didn't even know who was in charge. Should they be reporting to Laylah Rose, the leader they had known for years? Or Thom Brodeur, the man claiming to usher in a new era? The lack of clarity left many contestants feeling anxious, betrayed, and unsure about their future. Briefcase sponsors and partners growing uneasy. Sponsorships are the financial backbone of any pageant. Companies that partner with Miss USA do so because of the prestige and the promise of stability. But with two people claiming to run the show, sponsors were left in limbo. Who should they trust? Who should they negotiate with? For corporations, uncertainty is poison, and this leadership tug-of-war cast a shadow of instability over the entire brand. Mobile phone fans and media feeding the fire. Meanwhile, fans and the media did what they do best: fuel the flames. Social platforms exploded with hashtags, gossip, and heated debates. Some users sided with Laylah, praising her resilience and refusing to let her be silenced. Others backed Brodeur, arguing that a new face was needed to rescue Miss USA from years of controversy and decline. With no official press conference or transparent explanation from either side, speculation filled the void. Balance scale, the legal gray area. Adding to the confusion was the legal fog surrounding the takeover. If Brodeur truly owned the pageant now, where were the documents? If Laylah was right and no contracts had been signed, how could he make such a bold claim? The absence of clarity gave birth to endless conspiracy theories. Was this a hostile takeover, a PR stunt, or an internal power struggle gone public? No one seemed to have solid answers. Performing arts, the irony of it all. Perhaps the greatest irony was this: Miss USA, a competition designed to present an image of grace and composure, was now being portrayed as disorganized and unstable. The chaos behind the scenes directly contradicted the brand's public image, and the damage to its reputation grew with every headline. In the end, what should have been a seamless transition, or at least a private dispute, had transformed into a messy, very public war of narratives. The confusion spread across contestants, fans, sponsors, and the global pageant community. And in the middle of it all, one question echoed louder than the rest. Backhand index pointing right: who really runs Miss USA? Pageant politics. To the outside world, the Miss USA competition is all about beauty, talent, and stage presence. Contestants glide across the stage in sparkling gowns, smile for the cameras, and deliver perfectly polished answers about leadership and dreams. But beneath the stage lights lies a truth that few outsiders ever see: pageantry is politics. This isn't just about crowning a queen. It's about business empires, sponsorship money, broadcasting rights, and powerful connections. Whoever sits in the CEO's chair doesn't just organize a pageant. They control an entire machine that touches fashion, entertainment, media, and millions of dollars in revenue. Money bag the power of sponsorships. At its core, Miss USA thrives on sponsorship. Designers, makeup brands, hotels, jewelry companies, and corporate backers pour money into the pageant every year. These sponsors don't just want exposure. They want association with prestige, elegance, and influence. That's why a stable, trustworthy leader is essential. When Thom Brodeur claimed he was in charge, and Laylah Rose denied it, sponsors were suddenly forced to wonder, who should we write our checks to? That kind of uncertainty is deadly in business. Television: the battle for media rights. Television deals and streaming rights are another political battlefield. In recent years, pageants have struggled to keep mainstream media attention. Every CEO must fight to secure airtime, negotiate with networks, and keep the show relevant in a digital age dominated by TikTok and YouTube. If leadership is unclear, networks hesitate. They don't want to invest millions into a brand that looks unstable. And that instability was now on full display. Globe showing Europe-Africa global influence. Miss USA is also tied to the larger Miss Universe organization, a global powerhouse that connects dozens of national pageants. Leadership struggles at the national level can ripple into the international stage. If the US branch looks weak, it undermines its global standing. Other countries, pageant fans, and even foreign sponsors start asking, can Miss USA still compete as a respected institution? Balance scale: the hidden politics of power. Then there are the less visible but equally important politics: boardroom alliances, silent investors, legal contracts, and backroom deals. Pageants are not just shows, they are businesses run by powerful people, and those people have their own agendas. Some may have wanted Laylah Rose out for months, waiting for the right moment. Others may see Thom Brodeur as a disruptor, someone who barged in too boldly. In this world, crowns may go to beauty queens, but the real battles are fought by executives in suits. Performing arts: the image versus reality paradox. And here's the most striking contradiction. On stage, Miss USA preaches values like leadership, integrity, and empowerment. Yet behind the scenes, it's political maneuvering, corporate intrigue, and shadow wars over money and influence. For the contestants, it's heartbreaking. They dedicate years of their lives for a crown, only to discover that the people controlling their futures are locked in a power struggle that has nothing to do with elegance or talent. In the end, the politics of Miss USA aren't about who walks away with the crown on stage. It's about who controls the crown of power off stage. And right now, that crown is at the center of one of the fiercest political battles the pageant world has ever seen. Reputation at risk. For over 7 decades, the Miss USA crown has been more than just a piece of jewelry. It has symbolized elegance, achievement, and the promise of opportunity. Millions have tuned in to watch young women walk across the stage, not just for beauty, but for the hope of inspiration. But in the world of pageantry, reputation is everything, and in 2025, that reputation is under direct attack. When Thom Brodeur announced his takeover and Laylah Rose pushed back, the headlines didn't just focus on a business dispute, they screamed chaos, instability, and scandal. Suddenly, the very brand that has prided itself on order, glamour, and tradition was being dragged through the mud. Crown: the public's shattered perception. Fans of Miss USA expect grace and unity. What they got instead was confusion and division. To casual observers, it looked like the organization couldn't even decide who its leader was. For longtime supporters, it felt like a betrayal of trust. If the leadership can't manage itself, how can it claim to empower contestants and inspire young women? Briefcase sponsors and investors backing away. In the corporate world, reputation equals money. Sponsors don't want to be associated with instability. Major brands invest in Miss USA to gain prestige and positive exposure. But with scandal dominating the headlines, that positive association flips into negative PR. Companies start to ask themselves, why should we risk our image on a brand that looks fractured? Some may pause funding, others may walk away entirely. Television, the media narrative turns dark. For years, Miss USA has fought to stay relevant in a rapidly changing world. In the 90s, it was a glamorous TV event. In the 2000s, it battled controversy. In the 2010s, it shifted to streaming and digital. Now, in the 2020s, instead of talking about empowerment or winners, the media is running story after story about leadership wars. The narrative has shifted from inspiration to scandal, and once the media sinks its teeth into a fall-from-grace story, it rarely lets go. Globe showing Europe-Africa international embarrassment. Miss USA doesn't just exist within the US, it's a crucial part of the Miss Universe organization. Other countries watch America's pageant as a model of excellence. But now? The chaos looks like an embarrassment on the global stage. How can Miss USA claim to produce world-class winners when its own leadership can't stand united? Broken heart impact on contestants. Perhaps the most tragic consequence of this damaged reputation is the impact on the contestants themselves. For them, competing in Miss USA is often a once-in-a-lifetime chance. They train for years, sacrifice time, energy and money, all for a shot at the crown. But when the brand's reputation is questioned, their achievements are questioned too. Winning Miss USA is supposed to be an honor, but if the pageant itself is tainted by scandal, even the crown loses its sparkle. Balance scale, the risk of permanent damage. Reputation is fragile. It takes decades to build trust but only moments to destroy it. The longer this battle between Brodeur and Rose drags on, the more Miss USA risks becoming a cautionary tale instead of an iconic tradition. Audiences may turn away, sponsors may abandon it, and contestants may choose other platforms to showcase their talents. In short, the reputation of Miss USA is no longer just at risk, it is actively unraveling. And unless the chaos is resolved soon, the crown may lose its value, not because of who wears it, but because the world no longer believes in it. Split reactions. The Miss USA scandal didn't just create confusion in boardrooms, it divided an entire community. Overnight, contestants, fans, sponsors, and even pageant veterans were split into two rival camps. And just like politics, each side became fiercely loyal to their chosen leader. Crown Team Laylah Rose, the loyalists. On one side stood those who supported Laylah Rose. To them, she was the rightful CEO, the woman who had carried Miss USA through years of challenges and who had earned her position. These loyalists saw Thom Brodeur's announcement as nothing short of a hostile takeover, an attempted coup designed to strip Laylah of her authority without due process. Supporters praised her strength for refusing to step aside. They pointed out that Brodeur had yet to show any public legal documents proving ownership. Many argued that Laylah's vision for Miss USA was still valid and that replacing her so abruptly would destabilize everything. For Team Laylah, this was not just about leadership, it was about justice. They saw her as a woman being forced out of power and refused to accept it quietly. Briefcase Team Thom Brodeur, the reformers. On the other side were those who backed Thom Brodeur. To them, his takeover wasn't a scandal, it was a rescue mission. They believed Miss USA had been struggling for years, losing relevance, ratings, and respect. In their eyes, Brodeur represented a fresh start, someone willing to shake things up and breathe new life into a fading brand. Supporters argued that under Laylah, the pageant had failed to regain its former glory. They believed Brodeur's confidence and bold announcement showed leadership and vision. Many insisted that change was long overdue, and that clinging to the past would only drag Miss USA down further. For Team Thom, this was not about betrayal, it was about rebirth. They were ready to crown him as the savior of Miss USA. Mobile phone the battle on social media. The split reactions played out most loudly online. Hashtags began trending, debates turned into heated arguments, and fan groups fractured into camps. Some posts passionately defended Laylah as the true CEO, while others mocked her for refusing to accept reality. Memes, gossip blogs, and even live streams picked apart every new statement. In many ways, the internet became the true battleground of this leadership war. Performing arts, the pageant community divided. Even within the pageant community itself, former winners, coaches, and industry professionals, the division was clear. Some insiders quietly whispered that Laylah had lost control long before Brodeur entered the picture. Others claimed Brodeur had overstepped boundaries and risked destroying decades of legacy. The community, once united in celebrating beauty and talent, now found itself torn apart by loyalty and politics. Balance scale, the danger of division. This split reaction is more than just noise, it's dangerous. A brand like Miss USA depends on unity. When the audience is divided, when the contestants don't know whom to trust, when sponsors don't know which side to support, the foundation weakens. Every crown needs stability to shine, and right now, Miss USA is standing on cracked ground. In the end, this is no longer just a dispute between two leaders, it's a civil war within the Miss USA world. One side shouts for Laylah, the other for Thom. And until this fight is resolved, the organization risks tearing itself apart from the inside. Uncertain future. The Miss USA organization now finds itself at a crossroads unlike any in its 70-year history. The glittering crown that once symbolized glamour, unity, and national pride now hangs in the balance, overshadowed by boardroom battles and public distrust. The future has never been so uncertain. Crown a legacy on the line. For decades, Miss USA has stood as a cultural institution. It gave America queens who went on to become entrepreneurs, activists, Hollywood stars, and global icons. But today, that legacy feels fragile. Will future winners still see the crown as a platform for greatness, or as a relic tainted by politics and scandal? The answer depends on who takes control now. Balance scale, the legal showdown. One thing is clear. This conflict will not be resolved by press statements or Instagram posts alone. Behind the scenes, legal teams are already preparing. Lawyers will demand contracts, ownership papers, and proof of authority. The fight may spill into courtrooms with judges, not fans, deciding who truly holds the crown of leadership. Lawsuits, injunctions, and corporate filings could drag this scandal out for months, maybe even years. Briefcase, the business gamble. For sponsors and investors, the future of Miss USA is a gamble. Do they continue to back the pageant, hoping stability will return, or do they cut ties to protect their own reputations? Some may stay loyal, but others will surely walk away. Without financial backing, even the most iconic institutions can collapse. Miss USA must rebuild confidence, or risk financial ruin. Television, the audience dilemma. Then there's the audience, the lifeblood of any pageant. Millions once tuned in with excitement, but in a world overflowing with viral entertainment, their patience is thin. Scandal may attract temporary attention, but if chaos continues, viewers will simply move on. The crown can only survive if the people still care, and right now, many are questioning if Miss USA still matters. Globe showing Europe-Africa, a global ripple effect. This is not just an American story. As part of the Miss Universe organization, Miss USA's instability ripples across the globe. International sponsors, national directors, and even contestants in other countries are watching closely. If the US branch falls into disarray, it could weaken the entire Miss Universe brand, damaging credibility worldwide. Broken heart, the contestants in limbo. Perhaps the most heartbreaking part of this uncertain future lies with the contestants themselves. Young women who dreamed of representing their states, who spent years preparing, now face a stage clouded with doubt. Will their victories be celebrated, or overshadowed by leadership battles? For them, the future of Miss USA is not abstract. It's personal. It's their lives, their careers, and their dreams caught in the storm. Crystal ball, 2 paths ahead. At this moment, the Miss USA organization stands at a fork in the road. Path 1, stability is restored, leadership is clarified, and Miss USA emerges stronger, perhaps reinvented for a new era. Path 2, division continues, the brand erodes, sponsors vanish, and the once great crown becomes a forgotten symbol of what could have been. The question is not just who will lead, Laylah Rose or Thom Brodeur, but whether Miss USA can survive it all. Sparkles, the crown's true test. The ultimate irony is this. Miss USA has always asked contestants to answer tough questions about leadership, vision, and resilience. Now, the organization itself faces the very same test. Can it prove that it still embodies those values? Or will it fail under the weight of scandal? One thing is certain, the future of Miss USA is no longer guaranteed. Its survival depends not on beauty, but on power, politics, and the ability to rise from scandal. And until the dust settles, the crown remains suspended, not above the head of a queen, but above the fate of an entire institution.